You're on a flight to the United States. You've done everything right. Your visa is valid, your documents are in order, and you've traveled to America before without any problems. But when you land, a CBP officer looks at your passport, types something into their computer, and then says 3 words that make your heart stop. Step this way, please. You've just been sent to secondary inspection. Every single year, hundreds of thousands of travelers, including green card holders, visa holders, students, and even U.S. citizens, are pulled into secondary inspection at American ports of entry. Most of them have no idea why it happened, what's going to happen next, or what their rights are. And right now, in 2025, with border enforcement at one of its highest levels in recent history, knowing what secondary inspection is and how to prepare for it could be the difference between entering the United States and being sent home. Stay with me. This video covers everything. Welcome back to Immigration Radar USA, the channel where we break down complex U.S. immigration topics into clear, simple, actionable information. I'm your host, and today we are doing a complete deep dive into CBP Secondary Inspection. Now, this is not a new policy. Secondary inspection has existed for decades. But in the current immigration enforcement climate, it is happening more frequently, the questions are getting more intense, and the consequences of being unprepared are more serious than ever before. Everything I'm sharing today is based on official information from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the Department of Homeland Security, and publicly available government guidelines. I'll also walk you through real-world preparation tips that immigration attorneys consistently recommend to their clients. Whether you are a tourist on a B-1, B-2 visa, an F-1 student returning from abroad, an H-1B worker coming back from a business trip, or even a lawful permanent resident, this video is for you. Let's get into it. What is primary inspection? When you land at any U.S. port of entry, whether that's an airport, a land border crossing, or a seaport, your first stop is primary inspection. This is the booth where a CBP officer checks your travel document, looks at your face, scans your fingerprints, and asks you a few basic questions. Things like, what is the purpose of your visit? How long are you staying? Where will you be staying? This process usually takes 2 to 5 minutes. For most travelers, it ends there. The officer stamps your passport or hands back your I-94 admission record, and you're on your way. But for some travelers, the officer refers them to secondary inspection. What is secondary inspection? Secondary inspection is a more detailed examination conducted by CBP officers in a separate area of the port of entry. It is not an arrest. It is not a detention, at least not automatically. It is an extended interview and document review process where CBP officers take a closer look at who you are, why you're entering the United States, and whether your entry should be approved. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, secondary inspection allows officers to conduct a more thorough interview, review your travel history and documents in detail, search your luggage and personal belongings, examine your electronic devices, including your phone and laptop, verify information in CBP databases and immigration records, consult with other agencies, including ICE, the State Department, or FBI. The process can last anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours. In some cases, travelers are held overnight. Why is this happening more often? Right now, here is the key context you need to understand. Since early 2025, the current administration has significantly expanded border enforcement operations. CBP has been directed to increase scrutiny at ports of entry, conduct more thorough admissibility checks, and apply stricter standards across all visa categories. CBP officers today have broader authority to question travelers, examine devices, and make admissibility determinations. There have also been increased interagency data sharing arrangements, meaning information from other government databases is being cross-referenced at the border more aggressively than before. The result? More travelers are being referred to secondary, including people who have entered the U.S. dozens of times before without any problems. This is the question everyone wants answered. Why did this happen to me? The honest answer is, CBP does not always disclose the specific reason a traveler is referred to secondary. Their systems and criteria are largely confidential for national security reasons, but based on official CBP guidelines and well-documented patterns, Here are the most common triggers. Reason number 1. Hits in the CBP database or watch list. Every traveler entering the United States is run through multiple government databases the moment their passport is scanned. These include the Terrorist Screening Database, the National Crime Information Center, DHS immigration databases, and State Department visa records. If your name, date of birth, or passport number produces any kind of hit, even a partial match with someone else, you will likely be sent to secondary for manual review. This is called a false positive, and it happens to innocent travelers regularly, especially those with common names. Reason number 2. Visa or immigration history issues. If your immigration record shows any of the following, expect higher scrutiny. A previous overstay, meaning you stayed in the U.S. longer than your authorized period. A prior visa denial or revocation. A prior removal or deportation order. A prior expedited removal at a port of entry. Any pending immigration court case CBP has full access to your immigration history. These flags do not disappear. Even if you were issued a new visa after a previous problem, the underlying record remains visible to CBP officers. Reason number 3. Travel patterns that raise questions. CBP officers are trained to look for travel patterns that seem unusual or inconsistent. These include frequent travel to countries considered high risk or of national security concern, traveling to a country shortly before a major incident occurred there, entering the U.S. very frequently on tourist visas, which can suggest you may actually be living here, having entry stamps from countries that are adversaries or on U.S. sanctions lists. Reason number 4. Inconsistent answers at primary inspection. This one is critical. If the answers you give at the primary booth are vague, hesitant, or inconsistent with what your visa category says you should be doing, that alone can be enough for a referral to secondary. For example, if you are on an F1 student visa and you tell the officer you're coming for just a quick visit, that's a red flag. Or if you're on a tourist visa but you mention you're going to meetings with a company, that's a red flag too. Officers are trained to detect hesitation, nervousness, and inconsistency. Be clear, be calm, be consistent. Reason number 5. Referral based on random or algorithmic selection. Yes, some travelers are referred to secondary completely at random. CBP uses automated risk scoring systems that flag a percentage of travelers for additional screening regardless of individual red flags. This is a standard security measure used in many countries. If you are selected randomly, there is genuinely nothing you did wrong. It still helps to be prepared. Reason number 6. Social media or open source intelligence. This is newer, and it matters. CBP officers and other DHS personnel have increasingly been reviewing social media accounts of travelers as part of the admissibility screening process. This includes your public posts, photos, and even political statements. If your social media contains content that officers interpret as potentially problematic, including anti-government posts, associations with certain organizations, or content that contradicts your stated purpose of travel, this can contribute to a secondary referral or, in extreme cases, denial of entry. Let's walk through what actually happens if you're sent to secondary. Step 1. You are directed to a waiting area. You will be asked to take a seat in a designated room or area. Your passport is typically held by CBP while you wait. The waiting time varies widely. It can be 20 minutes or several hours, depending on how busy the port is and the nature of the review. Step 2. An officer calls you for an interview. A CBP officer, sometimes more than one, will sit down with you and ask detailed questions. These questions may cover your employment, employer, and income, your family situation, including whether you have family in the U.S., your housing and financial ties in your home country, your specific travel plans, where you're going, who you're staying with, how long you'll be there, your prior travel history, the contents of your phone or laptop. Step 3. Document and device review. Officers may ask to review your travel documents, bank statements, employment letters, hotel bookings, and return tickets. They also have the legal authority to search your electronic devices, your phone, laptop, and tablet, without a warrant. This is a point of significant controversy and ongoing litigation, but as of today, it remains legal at the border. Step 4. The decision. After the review, CBP will make one of several decisions. Admit you. You're cleared to enter the U.S. Admit you with conditions. For example, reducing your authorized period of stay. Refer you to a supervisor for further review. Issue a notice to appear. Placing you in immigration court proceedings. Place you in expedited removal. Denying your entry and removing you, typically within hours. Let's talk about who this affects most right now. Green card holders, lawful permanent residents, people with green cards, are sometimes surprised to learn that they can be sent to secondary inspection and, in some cases, can have their status questioned or even face removal proceedings. If you have been outside the U.S. for more than 6 months, or if you have any criminal history, even minor offenses, CBP may question whether you have abandoned your permanent residence. If you are a green card holder who has been outside the U.S. for an extended period, carry documentation showing your ties to the United States, tax returns, employment records, lease agreements, bank statements. F1 and M1 students. International students returning from abroad after breaks or vacations have been flagged more frequently in the current climate. Your I-20 must be valid and recently signed by your designated school official. You should be able to clearly articulate your program, your university, your major, and your expected graduation date. CBP officers may also check whether you are maintaining your student status, meaning enrolled full-time, not working without authorization. H-1B and other work visa holders. Skilled workers on H-1B, L-1, O-1, and similar visas should carry complete employment documentation when returning to the U.S. after travel abroad. This means your approval notice, your employment offer letter, and if possible, a letter from your employer confirming your current employment status. In the current climate, some H-1B holders have faced increased questioning, particularly those in sectors that have received policy scrutiny. Visa Waiver Program travelers, citizens of Visa Waiver. Program countries, including the UK, Germany, Japan, South Korea, and others, travel to the U.S. without a traditional visa using ESTA authorization, but ESTA approval does not guarantee entry. CBP can still refer you to secondary and deny entry. If you are a VWP traveler with any prior immigration issues, criminal history, or travel to certain countries, your ESTA may be flagged or even revoked. Naturalized U.S. citizens. Even naturalized citizens are not fully immune from additional questioning, particularly if they hold dual citizenship with a country of concern or if their travel patterns raise questions. While CBP cannot deny entry to a U.S. citizen, they can and do conduct additional questioning. Now let's talk about what you can actually do to prepare. Tip 1. Know your visa terms and stick to them. Understand exactly what your visa allows you to do, and make sure your activities in the United States are consistent with those terms. When an officer asks why you're here, your answer should be clear, immediate, and accurate. Tip 2. Carry your supporting documents, always. Do not pack your supporting documents in your checked luggage. Keep them in your carry-on and have them ready. Depending on your visa type, this may include employment verification letters, enrollment verification letters from your university, hotel confirmation and return flight tickets, bank statements showing you can support yourself, property or lease documents showing ties to your home country. Tip 3. Be honest, calm, and consistent. The most important thing you can do during any CBP interaction, primary or secondary, is to tell the truth. Do not volunteer unnecessary information, but answer every question honestly. Lying to a CBP officer is a federal offense and will make your situation dramatically worse. Tip 4. Prepare your electronic devices before you travel. You have the right to decline to provide passwords for your devices, but refusing to do so can itself be used as grounds for further examination or denial of entry. The practical reality is, before international travel, review your social media, your messages, and your emails. Delete anything that could be misinterpreted. This is not about hiding wrongdoing. It is about protecting your privacy during a process that currently has very limited legal protections. Tip 5. Do not panic. I know that is easy to say and hard to do, but panic leads to inconsistent answers, nervous behavior, and misunderstandings. Secondary inspection is a process. Cooperate fully, answer questions clearly, and remember that the majority of people who go through secondary inspection are ultimately admitted into the United States. Tip 6. Know when to ask for a lawyer. If you are a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, you have the right to consult with an attorney. If you believe you are being questioned about your immigration status in a way that could affect your legal rights, you can ask to speak with a lawyer. CBP is not required to stop the process, but your request should be noted. Non-citizens seeking initial admission, first-time visitors, for example, have more limited rights during this process. Let's bring it all together. CBP Secondary Inspection is a legal and standard part of the U.S. border entry process. It is not automatic punishment, and it does not mean you have done something wrong, but it is happening more frequently in the current enforcement environment, and being unprepared can turn a manageable situation into a serious one. Here is what to remember. You can be flagged for secondary because of a database match, a prior immigration issue, your travel history, inconsistent answers, random selection, or social media content. Inside secondary, officers can interview you extensively, review your documents, and search your devices. The process can end in admission or in removal. To protect yourself, know your visa, carry your documents, be honest and calm, review your devices before travel, and know your rights. And above all, if you have any complicated immigration history, travel concerns, or prior issues at the border, consult with a qualified immigration attorney before you travel internationally. A 1-hour consultation before your trip is worth far more than the consequences of being unprepared at the border. I hope this video gave you the clarity and confidence you need. Immigration processes can feel overwhelming and frightening, but knowledge is your best protection. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. It helps more people find this information when they need it most. And if you have a question about your specific situation, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you for watching Immigration Radar USA. Subscribe for the latest U.S. immigration updates, because in today's environment, staying informed is not optional. It is essential. We'll see you in the next one.